The one thing every Doctor Who fan knows about the androids of Tara is that it was based on The Prisoner of Zenda, an 1894 novel by Anthony Hope, which was made into films in 1937 and 1952. But nowadays that's not such a big deal. The story has faded from public consciousness over the last 50 years. The last film version was a comedy with Peter Sellers in 1979. But it's still a good story, so I can imagine Hollywood doing a big budget remake, possibly starring Chris Pratt. Surely it's about time we had a return to Zenda. Get it? Return to Zenda. Oh, please yourselves. This is the 4th story in the Key to Time season, and the format is in danger of getting repetitive. So it's good that the first episode shakes things up. The Doctor has got bored with the whole quest, presumably as a stand-in for any viewers who may have got sick of it, and instead he'd rather play chess or go fishing. Instead it's Romana who finds the key segment and transforms it immediately. So that whole format point is taken care of straight away, and they can just get on with the story. At this point I should mention the Taran Woodbeast. It's obviously one of the worst Doctor Who monsters ever conceived, but it doesn't harm the story too much. It's only around for one scene, and you can just forget about it after that. There don't seem to be any action figures of it for some strange reason, but the costume itself sold for £1,250, so I guess there are no limits to what Doctor Who fans will spend their money on. Tara is a unique planet, full of castles and nobles and arcane rituals, but also they have androids which are far more realistic than anything we could produce today. There is some backstory, with mention of a plague killing off 9/10 of their population, but mostly it's left to the viewer's imagination. It ends up being a great mix of science fiction and fantasy, much like Eternia in the He-Man cartoons. So we get all the expected trappings of medieval adventure stories, like sword fights, battles for the throne, and a hint of romance, while the androids just give it an extra layer of complexity, along with the existing storyline of Romana being the double of the princess. It's full of great dialogue, excellent costumes, and a good use of the locations. And it all flows very smoothly. Tom Baker is clearly having a lot of fun, particularly in the epic sword fight in the final episode. Mary Tamm is perhaps less well served, as Romana is captured and imprisoned twice over. She does get to escape once, but it's short-lived, and you feel that the story isn't really taking advantage of her strengths, treating her more like a generic female companion. She does get to play Princess Strella as well, but she doesn't have much of a personality beyond being shy and enjoying sewing. Peter Jeffrey as Count Grendel is by far the best guest actor, giving a wonderful performance that's outwardly charming and charismatic, but scratch the surface and it's obvious he's consumed with his lust for power. It's right up there with Alan Rickman's performance as the sheriff in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He gets all the best lines, saying of the Romana android, "You see before you the complete killing machine, as beautiful as you and as deadly as a plague. If only she were real, I'd marry her." And after being defeated, he says, "Next time I shall not be so lenient," before jumping in the lake and swimming away, which has to be one of the best exits of all time. Lois Baxter as Lamia is also a fascinating character, clearly in love with Grendel, even though he only values her for her engineering skills, which is quite a modern take on relationships, if you think about it. Even though she's on the side of the villain, it's still a tragedy when she gets killed off. Her performance is so good you really feel for her. The DVD has about 40 minutes of extras. There's really just 3 of them. The Humans of Tara is the usual Talking Heads documentary, with the cast and crew reminiscing about their time filming it. Now and Then shows you all the locations they filmed in and around Leeds Castle in Kent, and what the locations look like nowadays. And Double Trouble has a couple of writers from Doctor Who Adventures talking about all the classic stories featuring doubles, which is 10 minutes of my life that I won't get back. Overall, it's an enjoyable romp, with great dialogue and a wonderful villain, but it gets a bit repetitive, and Romana doesn't have enough to do, so I'll give it an 8. So far, The Key to Time has made for an extremely consistent season. What could possibly go wrong? Next week, it's The Power of Kroll. Oh dear. So subscribe to see what I make of that story. It could be better than I remember, who knows? Or check out the link in the description to see my playlist of all my classic Doctor Who reviews. And I'll see you next time.